interregnum, with the change of government, we did not expect to see much change in outbound travel policy.
It's been car crash on. I think I probably speak for a lot of people when I say it's really depressing. It's very hard going. We've been in this.
Everybody thought we were going to start travelling again, or people may not even start travelling again, but start booking again if the 14-day quarantine was resolved and if the government travel advice changed. That's all being thrown up in the air now with no decision on anything.
It's almost as if the government have made their mind up on this before the Aviation Task Force presents its final report. And there was some really, really important people in that group. All of the airports were there, the key airlines were there, the Irish tourism interests were there. So I'm not sure.
The EU Commissioner saying this is not as they planned on May the 27th. Borders were all to be opened on June the 15th. Ireland's policy seems to be standalone. Postponing to July the 20th was done without any indication if a green list would be even ready by then. And even if the green list is published, some newspaper advertisements this week suggested that the general policy will be that all travel to and from the island of Ireland is not recommended to the end of the year and possibly beyond.
They are talking about a new list on the 20th of July. The advert that they put in the papers was totally conflicting because they're going to give us a green list, but yet they're saying they're not going to change the DFA advice. It's so contradictory in terms of the north of Ireland, the border not existing.
People from Belfast today can come down to Dublin and fly to Spain and come back and then drive back up, and there's no quarantine. It's stupid.
Because of all the pronouncements about don't travel, cancel holidays, unnecessary travel, cocooning when you come home, the unintentional consequence of that is it's putting travel agents' livelihoods at risk.
Limbo for 4 months, and we thought we were getting somewhere in terms of green list countries and possible guidance lifting, and the airports were reopening, flights are operating 100 flights a day out of Ireland, and then we have all of this mixed messaging. Then we have these full page adverts from the government basically saying stay at home for the year. It's
the new roles found by travel agents during this crisis has been advocacy on behalf of the consumer. It's something that will have to be stepped up in the coming months.
If the consumer cancels and the flights are still going, the airlines are saying, well, you're still within our terms and conditions, so tough. And they're finding it hard to accept that. I know the ITAA is part of the ECTA movement to try and get some a fund, to refund consumers over all of this airline uncertainties and their terms and conditions that they're imposing on people. It's a difficult one, Owen. It's going to slow down any volume of people booking new flights or whatever. But it's just part of what we have to contend with.
Change fees are having a huge impact, Owen, on our business at the moment. Aer Lingus, to be fair to them, are not charging change fees for people. They're allowing changes. If there's a fare difference, the customer has to pay, and that's fair enough. But the Ryanair situation is completely different.
The huge change in circumstances.
But the huge change in circumstances has been driven by the government.
It's the worst possible set of circumstances now. Like flights operating, destinations operating, hotels reopening. And the Irish government are saying,
they're charging huge change fees. As far as I can establish, it's for customers who booked before the 10th of June. So these are customers who booked way before COVID was ever heard of. We have one case, that customer who booked last October to travel. Their fare was over €1,900. Last week we were told the change fee was going to be €2,245 for this family of four. Now we waited. This week we're being told, the same people, the fare difference is €80, but the change fee is €650. And that's just one case, and I could cite you loads more. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely scandalous.
Give them the option to move to next year, no matter when they've booked. If they can do it for people who are able to book from the 10th of June, they can do it for the person who booked back in early September in 2019. It's unfair and it's not right.
I've been talking to a lot of agents this week around the country, and the levels of stress have gone way through the roof because of this one issue, and it's really, really upsetting people. Apart from
the stress is on the consumer. It's not their fault.
Exactly, and the government runs the country, and the government needs to give leadership, and they need to say when this is ending. And how it fits in. What is the policy? the policy seems to move from week to week. Now everywhere is open, and it doesn't work. So we don't understand the policy, and it's not right.
What we found after the tsunami of negative publicity last week, consumers who had the credit voucher are coming back in to say, I want my cash now. It seemed to activate a desire to get the money now. And that's causing a problem because we have to process all of that as well.
Most clients don't actually want to travel against government travel advice. They prefer, and most people aren't even really screaming for a refund. And many of our clients are happy to move to next year. They're happy. We've already rebooked in many cases their accommodation for next year. So all we're asking for is to be fair, change the ticket. If there's a fare difference, fair enough, they'll pay that. Obviously a reasonable fare difference. We're not accepting a situation where you're going to change the name of it from change fee to fare difference, but a reasonable fare difference if it's applicable, and no change fee as is being done for people who booked after the 10th.
Yeah, we reckon it's about $1 million a day in terms of Irish consumers paying for flights that are operating that they're not going to get back.
Are you going to change that? Are you going to give them any sort of cause for hope? Because it's driving people bonkers.
Yeah, I know, like the government the government can't have it both ways.
It seems really unfair that the government on the one side are saying, please don't travel, but on the other hand are saying, well, the airline can get to keep your money. That doesn't seem fair to me.
It is just chaotic that they're putting pressure on consumers not to travel and the consumer is having to pick up the tab. That is not how democracy should work.
You can't expect airlines to operate and tell people not to go on them. If they want to do that as a policy, they should pay.
It's car crash stuff. It's, they can't have it. They can't have it every way. If they don't want people to travel, they're going to have to compensate.
You think about it, we're actually subsidising the airlines because they have this money. They've had it since last October or long.
Holiday makers who, with their hard-earned cash to do this and saying they shouldn't be going on holidays when the rest of Europe is open.
How long are we not to travel for? They're saying this year, but there's not going to be a vaccine possibly until whenever into the future. So, where is the logic? What's the plan? But
the airline cannot be the insurer of last resort and all this. There are a lot of airlines going to go out of business here. We're not going to be one of them. I've been on phones here for 9 weeks, and it's now only dawning on us with the amount that we've been sending emails to the wrong address.
It feels like we're pariahs in terms of overseas travel at this stage, and we're anything but.
We're being dealt with as if we're pariahs when we're actually an essential part of the infrastructure here. And for some reason, airlines are being treated differently in the Republic of Ireland with 4 million people than we are with 520 million people in the rest of Europe. It really doesn't make any sense.
Travel agents earn their money when consumers pay their balances. So for the rest of this year, all the agents I'm talking to at the minute would say, hey, there's nothing happening until the end of 2020. But really, we have to extend that to the end of the first quarter until we see some money coming back in and our margins on our business coming back into the business. It's a difficult one. And what I'm seeing is agents have dealt with, and are still dealing with, a lot of the existing bookings that were there. Coming to an end to that, they're looking down the track and saying, there's not a lot of bookings in the future, so how are we going to cope with that?
Irish travel agents have 3,500 jobs. We may not be the biggest industry in the world, but we're all SMEs. We're across towns and cities across Ireland. We're the sort of businesses that these guys want to retain, and they're doing nothing to protect us. It is just crazy. And
there won't be any return on that until possibly April time. So it's from now until the end of the first quarter of 2021, we need assistance for that long period of practically 9 months. It's a unique situation, has to be looked at favourably by the government, but we are going to make a case and see if we can gain some ground. We are now applying to the government for special consideration in their financial package that is coming out in the middle of July.
My name is Eoghan Corry. Travelwrap is commissioned by the Irish Travel Agents Association. The views here are my own.
We can't plan a schedule for September or October, or certainly into the winter, if we don't know whether we're going to be open. We may as well sell the flight somewhere else. The rest of Europe is open. Ireland is shut. Airlines can't plan on the basis it might be happening next or the week after next or the week after that.